Hi, Deepa Rani Shekar from Transform Life Programs. Love and light. Friends, what is the tipping point? Are we missing the tipping point? So, a tipping point is something where we make a U turn to get back to our roots. So, does it mean we are away from our roots? Yes, sometimes it happens in our pursuit of success, in our pursuit of career growth, and a lot of things. Sometimes we get weakened at the roots. So, this tipping point brings us back bang on to our roots. So, is that what is happening with all of us? The tipping point. Okay, let me tell you a story to clarify what the tipping point means. There was this young man who had everything. He was very successful, he was very happy, very famous, and all that any of us could aspire. But there came a point in his life, he was still very young, not that he was very old and he was transfixing his life to something else. No, he was still young. He had made it big while he was still young. And he felt he lost interest in everything. Absolutely everything in life stopped to interest him. It ceased to interest him. So at that time, he went to a Zen master. And the master asked him, "Child, what brings you here?" And this young man told him, "I have had everything that anyone could aspire. I have achieved it all. But now nothing makes me happy. I have lost interest in everything which I once chased in my life. Money doesn't interest me anymore. Woman doesn't interest me anymore. Wine doesn't interest me anymore. And the kick of success also doesn't interest me anymore." So we hear many people go through these phases at certain points in their life. So he went to this master to ask what could be done. So the master told him, it is very difficult to undo whatever is happening in your life if you have lost interest in absolutely everything in your life. Is there one thing, just one thing, which still interests you, which you still feel connected to? The young man thought a bit and said, yes, chess is something which still interests me. I loved chess then, I love chess now. So the master said, okay, fine. We will have a game of chess to see if we can tip something for you in the current position that you are. And he called a monk from his monastery. The monk had been meditating for 12 long years continuously, lost all interest in the world and worldly matters. So the master asked the monk to come and asked somebody else to get a board of chess and chess pawns. And he asked the young man to set up the chessboard and said, now you both are going to play a game of chess. And as both of them settled down, he said, there is one condition though. If the monk is defeated by you, I will cut off his head with the sword. Here he showed him a sword. And he will pay for being defeated with his life. So also, if you are defeated by the monk, you will pay with your life. I will cut off your head. With this note, the game began. And the young man kept thinking, what if the monk loses the game? He's also going to lose his life. And the reason for that will be me, for having defeated him. He did not feel good about it. And then he thought, okay, if I lose, I am going to be killed. And fear gripped him. So the monk had an upper hand. Though he had been meditating for 12 years and had nothing to do with the worldly things, he played and he was on an upper hand, while the young man was playing weak. He kept thinking. At one point, he started focusing on the game because the thoughts stopped. and he started focusing on the game, and he was close to victory. He made very good moves, and the master was just watching them as they played. The winning part or the losing part neither disturbed the monk nor did it have an effect on him. He was unimpacted, unaffected. While the young man felt fear, he felt guilty, he was going through a lot of waves of emotions. And then he thought, if I get killed, if I am defeated, and if I am killed, I have seen life and how important is it my life. It's okay if I die. But if the monk is defeated and if he gets killed, something which is so beautiful, so pure is going to end abruptly. So let me not do that. He felt so much for the purity of the monk, for the godliness of the monk, that he deliberately started making wrong moves so that he can be defeated in the game. At this juncture, the master, with a subtle smile on his lips, overturned the board. And the monk was still unperturbed. While the young man looked wide-eyed at the master, what was the purpose of doing this? He smiled and said, both of you win. Both of you win. I will tell you how both of you win. The first, said the master, the first part when you were making victory, almost winning over the monk, you felt bad that the monk would be killed. And when these thoughts came, when these thoughts started coming, you felt guilty and you started making mistakes. But then when you understood you will be killed if you lose the game, you started feeling fear. And the thoughts stopped at some point. And as the thoughts stopped, there was a meditation happening within. You went into a peace and calm within yourself, a feeling of peace and calm deep within yourself. But at one point, when you decided the monk's life was more important than yours, you tipped the scales. You tipped the scales because compassion lit your face with a radiance which otherwise is unseen. That is when both of you win. For the monk, it doesn't matter. He is always radiating. He is always radiating compassion. So compassion is what tips the scales. After this, the young man was very happy with whatever he had or whatever he didn't have. Nothing mattered to him. He was in pure bliss. So what is that we are missing, friends? Are we missing compassion? Are we missing compassion? And are we thinking, it's okay, I'm successful, so I don't need compassion? So is that why we are not able to tip the pace of the pandemic? Is that why we are not able to tip the attitude of ourselves towards the global pandemic that is gripping us with fear and uncertainty? Is it what the lesson for us is? At various points in time, there is a genesis. The genesis must remind you of the Noah's Ark. The Noah's Ark is when God spared Noah from the floods which killed everything. And he allowed one animal of every species to go with Noah in the ark so that it is there for posterity to see, for the coming generations to see. Noah took 120 years to build the ark with his 4 wives. And then he lived almost close to 1,000 years. He lived for 350 years after the Genesis, the floods. So, is that what is happening? Are we close to something where we have to realize that we have to save every species? Humankind has gone to an extent where we are not bothered about any other species. It's I, me, myself, and maybe my family. Should we think of humankind at large? Should we think of the whole globe minus the boundaries and borders? Even now, we are so hateful towards other caste, creed, race, religion. We are bordering on the lines of xenophobia. Is that what the pandemic wants us to learn? Like I always tell you, even in my previous videos, anything is only for a lesson, not for punishment. The day we learn the lesson, the scales are tipped. And what are we focusing on? On protecting myself, on safeguarding myself. Am I even thinking of the larger picture, the big picture? What is happening to the globe? Globally, what's happening? How much is Mother Earth crying for compassion from us? Is that the lesson we have to learn? So what we focus on expands. What are we focusing on? Fear, guilt, whatever. Are we missing focusing on compassion? So when compassion expands, there is love, universal love, unconditional love, which will tip the scales of everything. We still have a lot of expectations from the frontline warriors, as they are called. The doctors, the nurses, the paramedics, essential service people, the military, navy and the air force, the police. We have a lot of expectations from them. From our end, what are we doing? Are we making it any easy for them? I don't think so. We are creating more challenges by not following the norms, by venturing out without taking the following precautions, which is to keep ourselves safe. If we follow our duties, there will be no enforcement of duties. It comes naturally, it becomes a way of life. And compassion flows. When compassion flows, everything changes, like the golden touch of Midas. But not to become a bane, but to be a boon. So can we show this compassion towards everybody that have been roped in to serve humankind in this situation of pandemic, in this situation of crisis? All those who are sacrificing a lot, risking themselves to render service to humankind, can we respect all that they are doing for us, irrespective of whether I personally have taken their service or not? But they are doing a lot. Can we be mindful of that? Can we be compassionate towards that? Can we go into that milk of human kindness and compassion? Would that tip something else? So to go into this sphere of kindness, to drop all cruel thoughts, judgmental thoughts, can we do Ho'oponopono? There is a video on Ho'oponopono which I had posted previously, the link of which I will share in the dialog box. Please look that up. Please like, subscribe and share this video if it makes sense to you. So let's practice compassion, make the globe a much better place to live, minus the boundaries, minus the borders, full of love, compassion and kindness. Thank you so much for joining me, Deepa Rani Shekar from Transform Life Programs. Love and light.